Welcome to Canadian Updates. Please subscribe the channel. In a stunning and historic 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court has nullified all existing gun permits nationwide, sending shockwaves through the legal and political landscape. This sweeping move instantly upends decades of firearm regulation, erasing a patchwork of state and local rules that millions of Americans have lived under for generations. The ruling, delivered in the early hours of November 3rd, strips state and local governments of their authority to require or issue permits for carrying guns, effectively centralizing gun rights at the federal level. The majority opinion boldly declares that any permit requirement is an unconstitutional infringement on the Second Amendment, fundamentally redefining the relationship between citizens and the state regarding firearms. Now, the right to carry a firearm for self-defense is absolute. No government permission needed, no paperwork, no waiting periods. For many, this is a long-awaited victory. For others, a source of deep concern. Law enforcement agencies across the country are scrambling to interpret and enforce this new reality, facing unprecedented uncertainty about how to keep communities safe. Police departments urge calm, but confusion reigns. Does the ruling apply everywhere? What about sensitive places like schools or government buildings? The court offered little guidance, leaving many questions unanswered. Legal experts are racing to clarify what is and isn't legal, as lawmakers and attorneys general scramble to interpret the decision's far-reaching implications. Millions of Americans, both former permit holders and those who never applied, are suddenly on equal legal footing, facing a new era of personal responsibility and uncertainty. The decision erases the middle ground states once used to balance rights and public safety, leaving a void where compromise and local control once existed. The nation is left holding its breath, waiting to see what comes next, as leaders and citizens alike grapple with the enormity of this change. This is a turning point in American history, with consequences only beginning to unfold. The coming days and weeks will reveal how this unprecedented decision reshapes the country's future. Chief Justice Roberts' majority opinion marks a pivotal shift in American constitutional law, fundamentally redefining the scope of the Second Amendment. The opinion argues that permits for carrying firearms are a modern invention, never envisioned or recognized by the framers of the Constitution. According to the majority, the right to bear arms is as fundamental as any other right protected by the Bill of Rights. The court draws a powerful analogy, likening permit requirements for firearms to licensing free speech or religious practice, both of which would be seen as unconstitutional burdens on fundamental rights. This comparison underscores the court's view that the right to carry arms should not be subject to government pre-approval. This logic effectively dismantles the legal framework that has supported both concealed and open carry laws across the nation for decades, calling into question the legitimacy of any system that requires citizens to seek permission before exercising their rights. The ruling establishes constitutional carry as the new national standard. Now, any law-abiding citizen can carry a firearm in public, with no permit required, fundamentally changing the landscape of gun ownership and public carry in America. State laws that once mandated licenses or registration for public carry are now rendered void, forcing states to rapidly adjust their legal codes and enforcement practices. While the decision references the landmark 2022 Bruin case, it goes even further by eliminating the permit system entirely, setting a new precedent that will shape future legal debates. However, the opinion leaves some critical questions unanswered, such as whether bans in sensitive places like schools, government buildings, or courthouses will withstand future legal challenges. The boundaries of these exceptions remain unclear. Legal scholars now predict that states will attempt to expand the definition of sensitive places, setting the stage for a new wave of legal battles and court challenges that could further define the limits of this ruling. The era of gun permits in America, as we have known it, is effectively over. Permit offices are closing, and citizens are adjusting to a new reality. The relationship between citizen and state regarding firearms has been fundamentally and irreversibly altered, ushering in a period of uncertainty and adaptation for law enforcement and the public alike. The legal and cultural shockwaves from this decision are just beginning to ripple across the nation, promising ongoing debate and significant societal change in the years ahead. The 4 dissenting justices, led by Justice Kagan, condemned the ruling as reckless judicial overreach. They argue that permit systems are vital for public safety, providing background checks and basic training. The dissent warns of increased gun violence and more dangerous conditions for police. They accuse the majority of distorting history and ignoring long-standing regulations on carrying weapons. The dissent ends with a somber warning: the court has unleashed forces it cannot control, and the consequence will be felt for generations. The ideological divide on the court, and in the country, has never been starker. The Supreme Court's decision has ignited fierce reactions nationwide. Gun rights groups celebrate a historic victory, calling it a restoration of fundamental freedoms. Gun control advocates warn of a looming public health crisis, predicting more violence and accidental deaths. Law enforcement is split. Urban police chiefs express grave concern, while some rural sheriffs welcome the ruling. Ordinary Americans are deeply divided. Some feel newly empowered, others fearful for their safety in public spaces. Social media and talk radio are ablaze with debate. Parents worry about their children's safety in a world with more guns in public. The ruling has intensified, not settled, the national debate over guns. The cultural and political polarization in America has only deepened. The country faces a new era of uncertainty and division. This ruling is the culmination of a decades-long shift in Second Amendment interpretation. For much of the 20th century, the right to bear arms was seen as collective, tied to militia service. That changed with the 2008 Heller decision, which recognized an individual right to own guns for self-defense at home. The 2010 McDonald case extended that right to the states. The 2022 Bruin decision struck down restrictive permit systems, but today's ruling goes further, eliminating permits entirely. This marks the final step in a long campaign by gun rights advocates. The Second Amendment is now interpreted as an individual right to carry, without government permission. It's a radical break from a century of regulation. What was once a fringe legal theory is now the law of the land. The historical transformation is complete. The end of gun permits removes a key screening tool for law enforcement, which previously helped in assessing the eligibility and background of individuals seeking to own firearms. Background checks and safety training once required for permits are now gone, leaving a gap in the system that ensured responsible gun ownership through education and vetting. Critics warn this creates a public safety loophole, potentially increasing the risk of firearms falling into the wrong hands, while supporters claim an armed populace will deter crime by empowering citizens to protect themselves. Everyday disputes could escalate more easily with more guns in public, turning minor disagreements into potentially deadly confrontations. Police must now assume anyone could be legally armed, complicating their work and increasing risks during routine interactions, as the unpredictability of armed civilians adds a new layer of danger. Departments will need new training and protocols to adapt, focusing on de-escalation techniques and situational awareness to handle the increased presence of firearms in public spaces. The loss of mandatory safety courses raises concerns about accidental shootings and gun-related suicides, as individuals may lack the necessary knowledge to handle firearms safely. Public health experts fear more untrained individuals carrying guns will lead to more tragic accidents, especially involving children, who are particularly vulnerable to unsecured firearms. The psychological impact, anxiety, fear, or a sense of empowerment will reshape public life, influencing how people interact in everyday situations and altering the social fabric. The true public health consequences will take years to measure, as researchers and officials work to understand the long-term effects of this significant policy change on community safety and well-being. America's approach to public safety has been fundamentally altered overnight, marking a new era in the nation's ongoing debate over gun rights and regulations. The future of gun regulation is now deeply uncertain. States will test the limits of the ruling, likely expanding sensitive places where guns are banned. Expect a wave of lawsuits and new Second Amendment litigation. Congress faces pressure to act, but options are limited and politically fraught. The ruling will be a central issue in upcoming elections, reshaping political alliances and debates. Culturally, openly carried guns may become a common sight, changing the fabric of American communities. The decision could either normalize firearms or deepen social tensions. The legal and political battles will continue for years. The Supreme Court has set the nation on a new, unpredictable course. The debate over guns in America has entered a new and volatile chapter.